Hello and welcome to the Cozy Hearth podcast. I'm your host, Kit Muse, and we are talking today with Gemma Clatworthy and Melissa Gunn, and we are going to be talking about a topic that I'm really excited to dive into, and that is cozy inspiration. What inspires us to write not just in the Cozy Vales, but maybe to write cozy fiction in general. So welcome. You both have been on the podcast before. I'm sure we are all working so hard to get our stories ready for the anthology. So I thought I would start with just a brief welcome and update. Do you want to start us off, Gemma? Is there anything that you'd like to share since you were last on the show?
Yes, thanks very much. I'll quickly reintroduce myself for folks who might not have caught our previous episode, but I'm G. Clatworthy. I'm Gemma, and I've written the Saffron Vale series in the Cozy Vale world, which is cozy fantasy. And outside of that, I've published a few urban fantasy books as well. So there's a couple of series I've got there. So since we last caught up, obviously I'm preparing for our Autumn Vales anthology and doing the edits and various things that are needed for that. And then in my urban fantasy world, I have got a new series coming out at the end of July, so Vampire Graduate Scheme. So watch this space for that one.
Oh, that sounds very exciting. So is that just to find out maybe a little teaser? If it's a vampire graduate, is it like an academy?
So a little bit like an academy, but set in an office environment. So the tagline is "My job sucks," literally, because the vampires use the graduates as juice boxes. So it's not quite as cozy vibes as cozy fantasy, but it's very good fun to write. And yeah, it's all about being an auditor in a company run by vampires.
Oh, that sounds exciting. I can't wait. We will definitely spread the word when that comes out. And Melissa, welcome to the show. Anything exciting that you've been working on since we last chatted?
Well, thanks for having me back. I have been working on the edits for my next novella in a cozy urban fantasy series, which is called Grimoires and Green Tea. And it's about somebody who not quite inherits, but acquires a bookshop with magical books in it, and a fantasy version of my hometown in New Zealand. And this particular book is about how she begins to learn to deal with customers and retail service and what to do when you get a vampire and a werewolf quarreling over books in your bookshop.
Oh, that sounds fun. And then there's the shared theme of vampires are showing up again. So
Yes.
as someone who used to write a lot of vampire fiction back in the day, I like that. I'm glad that they're coming back around again. So that is great. Thank you both for the update. So we are going to chat today about our inspiration. And I just thought we just kind of, free flow about just what inspires us. So maybe since you just got done telling us about your book there, Melissa, that's Cozy Fantasy, what inspired you to create a cozy bookshop?
Partly, I've read a lot of books with bookshops as a theme, and I spent a lot of time in bookshops. So I guess it's familiar territory in terms of having a vague clue about what happens in bookshops and having had spent time a long time ago, admittedly, in retail. I thought it was something that is relatable for a lot of people, but also something that I thought I could do a fun twist on. And cozy is
Mhm.
everything. Who doesn't like
Very
a bookshop?
definitely and very relatable. I think most of us have done both retail and spent time in bookshops, so very relatable. Awesome. Well, how about you, Gemma?
Yeah, so I think similar to Melissa, a lot of my books have got kernels of inspiration from real life in them. So my Cozy Witch Mystery series is set in the Cotswolds, which is very near to where I actually live, which is great for inspiration and going out and about. And a couple of the characters have been inspired by people that I kind of know, who I won't name on here. So I kind of really like taking that real world inspiration and putting it into the books, but with enough of a magical twist that it's fantasy and kind of away from the truth. So I think, anyone who's done an office job will recognize that there are bad parts of that, and it can sometimes feel like it's literally sucking your I don't know, your soul or your life force out. So I've just kind of ramped that up with the Vampire Graduate Scheme one and taken it to a more of a fantasy level.
I do IT. I understand. It sucks your soul.
That's a fun twist.
Yeah. But I love the idea of putting people we know into books. One of the things that I did I don't know if it would be cozy adjacent or just general fantasy, but in a book I wrote a few years ago called Racing Luck, set at a horse racing stable. And I put my best friend in it as one of the main characters that I basically gave her dream job. So I've put a few people, I may have dropped an office building on some former bosses. I will neither confirm nor deny. But yeah, I've put people in books, and it's fun to do on both sides, I think, on both the getting a little bit of revenge side as well as the having fun side.
How cozy is that?
It was very cozy for me. I don't know.
I
Lots of
definitely
family.
yeah, I definitely know what you mean. I think my first series, the main character in that is based off a friend's Dungeons and Dragons character who is not too far away from my actual friend. So that was a lovely homage, and I hope she enjoyed it, because they get a happily ever after in the end, and yeah, it's good fun.
Oh, it's always nice to give happily ever afters to people that you know, and get a little wink wink and hope that they notice. And how about you, Melissa? You ever put anybody in a book that you want to
I've
tell us
just
about?
um elements of people. Like nothing, I haven't put the whole character in, just a twist here and a more of not really professions actually, but just like perhaps use them as a basis for like the way somebody looks or the way they act, or just like a little sliver of their character rather than a fully rounded character, just to help round out a character that I have in mind. So, I guess I'm taking inspiration from people rather than being, let's put that character in. And hopefully I've done it so that nobody recognizes themselves.
Okay, that was going to be my next question was, do you tell people that, obviously depending on what you do with the character, you may or may not want to tell them, but, do you ever tell people, hey, I just put you in my book and, here's what you're doing? No.
No. Like I said, partly because I don't use the whole character anyway, but I guess that's something that I would prefer if I was going to put in like a person fully rounded in the book. I would probably want to ask them first, unless I was killing them off, in which case I'd give them a different hair color and a different set of features.
Yeah, for me, so with my first series based on my friend's D&D character, I did talk to them about it beforehand, and they were fine with it, and they kind of read, they were one of my beta readers for book one in that series, so that was all good. With other characters since then, so like in my Omensford series, I'd say similar to you, Melissa, it's more about taking various parts of maybe different people and putting them into a single person. So the mother of my main character in that series, she will never take her tea without a saucer, and that element of that is something that I remember really fondly of my granny. So like kind of getting that in and having standards as just one small part of them is, I hope, a very nice tribute to her.
Oh,
That's
that's
nice.
so nice. Yeah, so heartwarming. So with that, then we've talked a little bit about how we get inspiration for our series, and like, so I've described my work in the Cozy Vales as um, All Things Great and Small, which is a show that, we watched well after its regular run on public television. Um, and set in the cozy fantasy world. And I took inspiration from basically, the vibes of the show, the series, and because it's cozy, they all have to end happily. Um, my mom used to watch like Dr. Pol and all the veterinary shows that are on, but unfortunately, as in real life, you don't always have those happy endings. And I wanted the very cozy feel and wanted that kind of, animal connection. So is there, and it sounds like Melissa has that with her bookshop. Is there any sort of like direct inspiration that shows up in your cozy writing like that? And anybody can jump in.
That's a good question. I think for me, the Thornbury Vale is completely made up, but it gets some of its vibes from some time that I spent in a camp in the Yukon, Canada, where people brought along. It was very rustic, with very little technology, but people brought along their favorite things with them for the summer, like some blueberry syrup from Saskatchewan. Somebody brought along, and that was, now I come to think of it, actually a major part of the inspiration for my Cozy Vale was this vibe where people had their favorite things, and they were usually foodie things, but it could be a favorite blanket, something your grandma knitted. Um, but that would be certainly that would be an inspiration for that part of the the coziness of that one.
Oh, that sounds so amazing.
It was really interesting.
I love that so much. Um, I think for me, so you talked about TV shows, Kit. So book two of my Saffron Vale series has got a lot of parallels with the Great British Sewing Bee, which is like the Bake Off, but for sewing. I don't know if you have it over there, but it is a great show and it's so cozy and it's just a sewing competition. So book two is about a sewing competition. So there's really strong parallels with that because I really enjoy the show and crafting and sewing. So it was really fun to bring kind of my love of that into the whole series, but that book in particular, I really enjoyed writing.
Oh, I'll have to look
Ne
that up.
Needles out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I watched a few episodes of the Great British Bake Off.
Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
that perfect cozy TV where you know that the worst thing that's going to happen is someone will ruin a dessert or a dress or whatever the thing is that they're making, and nothing worse than that can happen. So it's very low stakes, and I really enjoy programs like that where people also get to show off their skills, but there's a little bit of, I guess, low drama.
That's a great point. The low stakes is perfect for cozy fantasy, and it's
Yeah.
really important to the characters.
Yeah.
Well, and like with shows like that too, the feedback is cozy because what I really enjoyed, I mean, sometimes the judges can be like, no, this does not work. But they're, even when they give, that constructive criticism, they're trying to make people better. It's not just like cutting people down. Um I watch some food shows on the Food Network, and the ones that I watch, they usually, and again, if you've got to gently tell somebody, hey, this didn't quite turn out the way you thought it would, that yeah, they do so in a cozy way and not, not in a, I guess, a Gordon Ramsay way.
That wouldn't
Yeah.
be so cozy.
No, not at all. So, do you find inspiration then from like other people's books? Like I make no, I'm inspired by Valdemar because that's what I grew up with. And so that's where, a lot of my horses and that come from. Do you find inspiration from other worlds like that you want to bring into your cozy writing?
Shall I start with that one?
Sure.
Go for it.
Yeah, so definitely. So the first series I ever wrote, I describe it as Bridget Jones meets Lord of the Rings. So that's kind of two very different books that are kind of mashed together, or very different styles. And I really enjoy doing that. And if when you can find those comparisons that work really well, they're helpful too, because they let people know what they're getting in for. And so, I mean, you can probably see, I don't know which way to lean. That book is called Eat, Pray, Dragons. So it's a fantasy set in Italy with some homage paid to the Eat, Pray, Love book, but there's dragons in it and it's not exactly the same. So yeah, I definitely take inspiration from other books and different genres as well. What about you, Melissa?
I think it would be very hard not to. But yes, I would definitely say I've taken inspiration from other books I've read. So with the cozy urban fantasy, that was probably most influenced by things like Howl's Moving Castle, but wanting to bring a modern spin on it. So um, that's yeah. So taking that, and actually Charles DeLint's books, he was the classic urban fantasy father of urban fantasy, um, where the fantasy world intrudes gently on the magical world. So the magical world intrudes gently on the real world. And so you could be walking down some street where you grew up and turn around and there's a werewolf peering out from under a bush or something. So, but using the sort of gentle humor from uh, Diana Wynne Jones's style of writing, although I have to say that she had some very nasty characters in hers, and most of my characters are a bit nicer than that, even the bad ones. But yeah, I take a lot of inspiration from books because I mean, when you read a lot, then it's got to soak in.
It does. It does. I've been reading mostly nonfiction, but yes, it still soaks in actually, because I find that what I'm working with the nonfiction eventually seeps its way into the fantasy and into the fiction.
Oh, I love that.
Hmm. Well, is there anything else that inspires? I feel like we've like done a good overview of inspiration. Is there anything else that inspires like your cozy fantasy, or is there maybe something that you found particularly inspirational that you want to just kind of share?
I guess if there are any listeners who are wondering how to get some inspiration, I'd be happy to share a kind of one of my tips is like I give myself a writing prompt that's just really crazy, like what if X and Y happened, and like mush them together. So like what if there was a company that was totally run by vampires? How would that work? So like their offices would be in the basements because vampires don't like sunlight. So like, and loads of things can spiral off from that. So if anyone's listening who's aspiring writers and just wants to get started, try and mash two different ideas together and just see where it takes you, and it doesn't have to lead to a book or anything, but it can be fun to write the story.
Oh, that's a great idea. How about you, Melissa? Do you have a way to kind of get inspiration when the well starts to run dry?
I'd say for me, it's definitely by going and doing things away from the computer screen. So like, uh, I recently did just a one-day pottery class, and there were people sitting around and doing things, and you could just imagine like just doing things like that sparks your imagination, and um, you could partly from the people themselves and apart from the stories they told, you could just like hear conversations. For me, I guess conversations are a great source of inspiration. I'll hear people saying something on the bus and go, oh, what if? And then spend the rest of the bus journey rabbiting off in a new world that has just thrown itself open before my eyes, taking like just a snippet of conversation and putting it in a different context. So that cozy urban fantasy starts off with the bus journey, which was a bus journey that I've taken, but it takes a really quite a different form with dragons popping up outside bakeries and things like that. So I think, yeah, definitely doing real life things is a great way of feeding the imaginary life.
I echo that. For me, it's going outside, getting into nature, which usually involves like spending time with the horses or doing chores around the farm. But yeah, definitely getting outside and getting away from the computer and from the internet, and that usually sparks my imagination.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, this has been a lovely conversation. Why don't we're going to do just a quick round of let's just remind everybody where they can find out more about you and your work. And Melissa, we'll start with you.
Sure. So the best place to find me and my work is my website, which is www.melissagunn.com.
Yeah, and for me, so you can find me on all the socials, but the best place is my website as well. So www.gemma, that's with a G, Clatworthy, which you can see on the screen, it's a nightmare to spell.com.
And you can find out more about me and my writing at kitauthor.com. And I cannot let an episode of the Cozy Hearth go by without mentioning cozyvales.com, where you can find information about Melissa, Gemma, and all of our scribes, as well as our anthologies to download and other books set in the Cozy Vales universe, which we'll hopefully have some more out by, fall or when things happen, but we'll definitely have a new anthology out this fall. So I just want to thank everybody for listening and keep it cozy.